Hello guys, welcome to the channel. Today's like goal is 50. Body slam that like button and leave a comment so the great YouTube algorithm will reply to my texts again.
The story opens with a man guiding his daughter forward, covering her eyes with his hands to keep a surprise hidden. The girl, bubbling with excitement and curiosity, asks her father if this is the big reveal he promised. He reassures her that it's worth the wait. At last, he tells her to open her eyes. She's left speechless. It's a brand new, white Porsche, priced at $100,000. Only her reaction is surprisingly muted, though perhaps unexpected at first. Once the reality of the gift settles in, she's thrilled, realizing her father bought her a Porsche to celebrate her university acceptance. She embraces him, expressing her gratitude. The girl Hosa has a life others can only imagine. A rich father who's a high-profile businessman and the city's mayor, a luxurious home, and an extravagant lifestyle. The scene shifts to her classroom, where her friends react in disbelief as Hosa shares the story. A black-haired friend questions if her dad really gifted her a Porsche just for getting into university, and Hosa proudly confirms it's a convertible. Another friend leans closer, suggesting they should take it for a spin. Hosa, however, explains that her dad's rule is she can't drive it until she graduates. Her black-haired friend reminds her that's only 3 months away. Hosa sighs, saying those 3 months feel endless. Her friend chuckles, pointing out that while many kids have to take the bus, Hosa has a Porsche. Hosa laughs at the comment, but a nervous boy with bandages on his face interrupts them, handing her instant noodles. Visibly shaken, he tries to retreat, but Hosa notices something amiss and calls him back, sending chills down his spine. She remarks that she wanted spicy noodles. He explains that the store ran out, so he grabbed an alternative. Hosa notes he chose her least favorite kind and hints she won't be eating them. One of her friends pipes up, trying to egg her on, but the boy, Yen Wu, just apologizes and steps back. Hosa opens the noodles but then spits into them, saying she won't eat what she doesn't like. Shocked, Yen Wu stands by, and she tells him to eat it himself. Yen Wu stammers, but she calls over her boyfriend, Jiho, and says Yen Wu refuses to eat the noodles, making him look like the bad guy. Jiho, angry, asks if he heard right, unaware of the whole story. Yen Wu, visibly shaken, attempts to explain and eventually agrees to eat the noodles to avoid further trouble. Jiho doesn't hesitate. He punches Yen Wu, cursing as he slams into a locker. Hosa grins, while her friend watches with a shrug. Jiho mocks Yen Wu, saying eating the noodles is like an indirect kiss with Hosa, which amuses her and her friends. Sweating, Yen Wu tries to refuse, but Jiho plays on it, suggesting Yen Wu thinks Hosa is somehow dirty if he won't eat. Trapped, Yen Wu asks if there's anything else he can do, but Jiho, enjoying his position of power, just continues to torment him. Watching, Hosa feels her life is flawless, like a dream. Later, she texts her dad, who says he'll be home late for work. She reminds him to stay safe and avoid drinking. Knowing her dad won't be back, she takes the Porsche out that night. She speeds down an empty road under the night sky, feeling free, but suddenly she's snapped back to reality as a figure appears on the road. And, in an instant, she realizes she's hit a man. She stops, horrified to find him lying motionless. The news later covers the accident, and someone recorded the scene. Reporters crowd around, asking questions as she cries and apologizes. Abruptly, she jolts awake. It was just a nightmare. Shaking, she's relieved but laughs nervously as she gets ready for school, writing herself a reassuring note. Seeing the damaged Porsche, she decides to cover it up, leaving a note claiming she accidentally hit it while moving the car. At school, she stands outside her classroom, sweating and lost in thought, imagining her classmates gossiping about the incident. She eventually enters, greeted by her friends. Her black-haired friend grins, asking if she's heard the news, and another friend is animated. Hosa pauses, but then realizes they're talking about a music video trailer. She laughs, relieved, as they urge her to watch it. Inwardly, Hosa reassures herself that no one saw the accident. Her friends don't suspect anything, and even her boyfriend remains oblivious. She convinces herself that everything is fine, even as Yen Woo nervously serves her once again. Joshua, feeling smug, convinced her life is still perfect, until her phone vibrates with a message from someone named, She freezes, staring at the screen in confusion, wondering who this mysterious sender could be. Hesitating, she replies to the message, but shifts her attention to the teacher in class. At that moment, the teacher writes something on the board. Heaven knows, earth knows, the child knows, I know. Joshua's eyes snap back to her phone. I witnessed it, reads the message from M, making her stomach drop as panic starts to creep in. The phrases echo in her mind. Heaven knows the accident. Earth knows the man she left behind, and I know. Her face turns pale as the weight of M's words sink in, with Joshua's hands trembling as she stares at her phone, recalling the hit and run she thought no one had seen. She quickly replies, demanding to know who M is, but M responds calmly with a smirk. Don't act like you don't know, winky face. Frustrated and nervous, Joshua warns she'll block him, but M seems unfazed, reminding her that only someone guilty would react this way. Joshua grits her teeth, growing desperate. M asks her to say something funny to Kim Andal. Annoyed, she responds, who? M reveals it's the name of their homeroom teacher. Joshua's eyes widen, not because of the name, but because it proves M must be a classmate. Realizing he's someone watching her closely, she looks around the room, trying to guess who it could be. First, she suspects Kim Bidna, her orange-haired classmate, but dismisses her, remembering their recent spat. She glances at her black-haired friend, Yara, but rules her out since their families are close. Then, her eyes fall on her boyfriend, Jiho, but quickly moves on, thinking he'd never be clever enough to pull this off. Deep in thought, she considers other classmates. The top student, Young-gu, or perhaps the annoying girl Libora, who sits quietly, absorbed in her notes. Just then, the teacher slams a book on his desk, demanding to know who's using their phone during class. Joshua freezes, her heart pounding as she begins to rise. But then the teacher points to Yen Woo, the timid boy she bullies. Relieved but wary, Joshua watches as Yen Woo sheepishly hands over his phone, apologizing. Her heart slows as she slumps back into her seat, her eyes narrowed as she wonders, could Yen Woo be M? After class, Yen Woo is sent to the faculty room. Jiho, oblivious to Joshua's tension, jokes about stealing Yen Woo's gym uniform. But when he reaches out to touch her shoulder, she snaps, shoving him away and yelling at him not to touch her. The class goes silent, stunned at her outburst. Kim Bidna and Yara exchange worried glances, asking if she's okay. Realizing she overreacted, Joshua stammers an apology, brushing it off. Her mind is still racing with thoughts of Yen Woo. She decides to investigate and casually asks Kim Bidna if anyone has Yen Woo's number. The question leaves the class silent, and Bidna looks at her curiously, wondering what sparked her sudden interest. Joshua awkwardly backpedals, saying she was just curious. Meanwhile, in the faculty room, Yen Woo stands quietly as the teacher scolds him. He apologizes, looking tired and defeated, his eyes cast downward. The scene shifts to Joshua in the restroom, staring at her phone as she sends a message to Yen Woo, asking him to meet her. She sighs, muttering to herself, I'm not like a detective, but I have to figure this out. Her eyes remain glued to her phone, absorbed in the notifications and unread messages. As she types, distracted, she accidentally bumps into someone and stumbles, her phone clattering to the floor. Glaring, she looks up to see it's the top student, Young-gu. Furious, she demands an apology, but he simply stares, unfazed. Flustered, she orders him to leave, saying she'll handle it herself. Joshua watches Young-gu walk away, silently cursing his attitude. When she picks up her phone, panic sets in, it's cracked, and she might not be able to check M's reply. As she inspects the damage, her finger grazes a sharp edge, drawing blood. She freezes, staring at her injured thumb before licking it and grinning slightly. She's sure now, Yen Wu must be her mysterious tormentor. Just as she's savoring this revelation, a student suddenly points toward the window. Joshua's heart skips as she hears someone exclaim that police officers are outside. She rushes to the window with the rest of the class, her gaze locking on two officers entering the school. Her mind races with dread. The scene shifts to the faculty room, where Yen Wu sits across from the police officers, answering their questions. Joshua sneaks closer, straining to hear, but one officer's sharp gaze catches her. She quickly ducks out of sight, her heart pounding. She races down the hall, mind spiraling, wondering what Yen Wu told them and if the police might know about her hit and run. Back in the classroom, the atmosphere is tense. A classmate bursts through the door, breathless, announcing that Yen Wu's father was the victim of the recent hit and run. Another student adds that he's in critical condition. Joshua stands abruptly, realizing he's still alive. Kim Bidna, concerned, asks where she's going, but Joshua mutters that she's going to the faculty room. The scene cuts to Joshua and her boyfriend, Jiho, walking down a school hallway. Jiho complains about having to visit Yen Wu's father on their 100th day anniversary, but Joshua brushes him off, insisting she has to confirm if Yen Wu's father is indeed the man she hit. Begrudgingly, Jiho agrees to tag along. They arrive at the hospital, where Yen Wu sits alone in the waiting area, his head bowed. Joshua approaches with a falsely cheerful demeanor while Jiho sneers at Yen Wu, rudely demanding that he apologize for ignoring him. Joshua chastises Jiho, reminding him why they're here, then asks Yen Wu if he's eaten. Surprised by her sudden kindness, Yen Wu looks suspicious but grateful. Feigning more concern, Joshua orders Jiho to take Yen Wu to eat, despite Jiho's protests. Reluctantly, Jiho agrees, taking her golden credit card as she pushes the clueless Yen Wu toward him. Once they're out of sight, Joshua's facade vanishes, and she immediately rummages through Yen Wu's bag, retrieving his phone. But her excitement turns to frustration. It's locked. Desperate, she bites her lip and tries an idea. She calls M's number, convinced Yen Wu's phone will ring. To her shock, a phone rings, but it's not Yen Wu's. It's M's phone, and the call connects. A chill runs down her spine as she watches the call timer tick, her heart pounding as she realizes someone is listening on the other end. Frozen, she clutches both her phone and Yen Wu's, trying to speak, but the line remains silent. Frustrated, she screams, demanding to know who M is, but the call abruptly disconnects. Joshua stands there, shaken. She had been so sure Yen Wu was M. Could it be his father? But that's impossible. She hasn't gotten close to him. The scene shifts to the hospital cafeteria, where Jiho pesters Yen Wu, demanding he explain why Joshua has suddenly taken an interest in him. Yen Wu stays silent, growing increasingly distressed. Annoyed, Jiho shoves him. But before things escalate, Joshua storms in, scolding Jiho and returning Yen Wu's belongings as if nothing had happened. Jiho, now furious, lashes out, shouting that she dragged him to the hospital on their anniversary for some nobody. Embarrassed by his outburst, Joshua tries to calm him down, but he storms off, leaving her standing there, speechless. Yen Wu watches her quietly, too stunned to react. Later, on her walk home, Joshua reflects on how everything spiraled out of control. Suddenly, a voice calls her from behind. A police officer with a stern expression asks if she lives nearby and if she'll answer a few questions. She freezes, dread pooling in her stomach. This day just got even worse. Joshua spins around, startled and nervous, asking the officer who he is. His partner, noticing her reaction, smiles and jokes that anyone would be scared if someone who looked like a wanted criminal asked them questions. The officer with the stern expression raises an eyebrow and asks his partner if he really looks like a criminal. Shaking off his surprise, the officer turns to Joshua, noting her school uniform and asking if she knows about the hit-and-run incident involving Yen Wu's father. Fighting to keep her voice steady, Joshua replies, "Why are you asking me?" The partner steps in, explaining that they're looking for witnesses to the accident. Joshua clutches her bag tightly and nervously asks, "Is that why you're here?" Just then, the butler steps outside and addresses the officer by name, Shin Young-hun, telling him that Joshua's father is ready to meet him. The officers follow the butler, and the partner waves at Joshua before they disappear inside. The partner comments on damage to the gate, but the butler dismisses it. Joshua watches them from a distance, feeling a wave of panic. She wonders if the police are there to investigate the hit and run or, worse, accuse her. She asks the butler why the officers are meeting her father, and he reassures her, explaining that they're there to discuss a redevelopment project. Feeling relieved, Joshua forces a smile and tells the butler to leave. Though her nerves ease, they don't vanish completely. Later, Shinyang's partner complains about missing dinner with the mayor. Shinyang, with his seasoned demeanor, reminds him that accepting favors from the rich means repaying them many times over. They climb into the car, and the partner asks if they're finished for the day. Shinyang, unfazed, replies that they're heading to the crime scene. Grumbling, the partner agrees, but only if Shinyang buys dinner. Shinyang smiles and nods, glancing in the rearview mirror. He notices a figure watching them from one of the windows in Joshua's house, meeting her gaze briefly before driving off. Joshua watches them go, her dog barking beside her. She mutters that even the dog seems to dislike the police, joking that only the dog understands her. She strokes the dog, feeling a little better. But soon, frustration creeps back. She mutters about how all of this is his fault. She grabs a notebook and begins writing down names, creating a twisted list of suspects. As she crosses off Yen Wu's name, she still feels unsure of M's identity. Suddenly, her phone rings. Joshua's body stiffens, and her heart races. She looks at the screen and sees it's M calling. For a moment, she freezes, unsure of what to expect. She answers, her voice trembling as she hopes to finally hear M's real voice. M's distorted voice fills her ears, demanding to know why she's been ignoring the messages. Joshua stammers, trying to explain that her phone is broken, but M accuses her of lying. She offers to send a screenshot as proof, but M laughs darkly. "If your screen is broken, how can you send a screenshot?" Joshua clenches her teeth, trying to keep her anger in check. M mocks her, asking how someone with a brain like hers managed to get into K University. Joshua's frustration mounts, but M continues, commanding her to repeat after him. Panic surges through her, and she reluctantly complies. M taunts her, threatening to contact the detectives if she doesn't obey. The next morning, Joshua sits in the passenger seat of her father's car. Her father notices her somber expression and asks why she's so down. Joshua dismisses it, saying it's just some trouble at school. Her father chuckles, reassuring her that such problems pass. After a pause, Joshua asks, "Do you get along with everyone at work?" Her father looks at her, surprised. "Why do you ask?" Joshua, her head down, explains that no matter how nice she is, there's always someone who dislikes her, and she doesn't know how to handle it. Her father smiles knowingly and says, "The more you suspect someone hates you, the nicer you should be to them." Joshua, confused, asks for clarification. Her father explains with an example about a dog catcher who gains the trust of wild dogs by feeding them, eventually calming them enough to spot the aggressive ones. Joshua's eyes widen in realization, and her mind begins to race with new possibilities. Grinning, Joshua thanks her father inwardly, thinking to herself how brilliant his advice was. Feeding the people you hate most. With renewed determination, she hands her broken phone to the driver. She asks him to fix the phone, though her real motive is to avoid receiving any more strange messages from M. The driver takes the phone, promising it will be fixed by the end of the school day. However, his attention shifts suddenly, and he slams on the brakes. "Are you okay?" The driver asks, looking back at Joshua and her father, who demands to know what happened. Joshua looks ahead, gasping when she sees someone she recognizes standing in the middle of the road with a bike. Her father yells in fury, "Does this person have a death wish?" Joshua freezes and realizes it's her boyfriend, Joe. The driver politely asks Joe to move aside, which he does with a bow of apology before they resume their journey. Joshua's father frowns at Joe's school uniform, grumbling, "If I'd known, I would have sent you to a private school." Joshua chuckles quietly, amused at what her father would think if he knew Joe was her boyfriend. At school, Joshua walks into her classroom and immediately spots Joe. She asks if they can talk in private, and once they're alone, she turns to him, visibly annoyed. "What were you thinking? You could have caused an accident." Joe is surprised by her outburst but starts to explain. Joshua pauses, remembering her father's advice. Taking a deep breath, she softens her expression. "Was it because of our fight at the hospital? I didn't mean to upset you." Joe, caught off guard by her sudden change in tone, stammers before apologizing. "I've been meaning to apologize for what happened at the hospital, but couldn't find the right time." Joshua freezes, not expecting an apology. Before she can respond, Joe apologizes again, pulling his hands from his pockets. Without thinking, Joshua hugs him tightly, surprising him. "I'm glad you're on my side," she says cheerfully. Joe, puzzled, asks, "What do you mean by that?" Joshua smiles softly. "Just stay still," she murmurs, as her mind begins to work, planning her next move. Her expression turns calculating as the school bell rings. The scene shifts to her classmates in the gymnasium, where students are excitedly talking about the upcoming sports event. Bitna asks Bora, the class president, about the event, and Bora informs them it's in the gymnasium. The students' enthusiasm quickly fades, with one wishing he could play football instead and another wondering if he'll survive until lunch. Meanwhile, Wara and Bitna turn their attention to Joshua, who's searching through her locker. Bitna notices something's off and leans in closer. Joshua gasps, her body trembling when she spots a torn uniform inside her locker. Pinned to it is a note from M. "Wear this for physical education class." Joshua stares in disbelief, her heart racing. The scene shifts to the gymnasium, crowded with students. Bitna complains about the cold, grumbling, "Why do we have to do sports after our college exams?" Wara, concerned, turns to Joshua. "Are you okay dressed like that? Aren't you cold?" Joshua brushes it off with an excuse. It's easier to move this way, though she smirks to herself, knowing that M only told her what to wear, not how to wear it. She adds, "Still, if the cold doesn't kill me, the embarrassment from these stairs might." The cheerful gym instructor calls for the class president, Bora, and hands her a dodgeball, instructing the girls to play dodgeball. The boys are given a basketball, and one of the boys asks if they can play football instead, pointing to his cleats. The instructor crosses his arms, explaining the situation outside and refusing to let them play. The boys are disappointed, and Joshua wonders what their problem is. Suddenly, a dodgeball hits a girl, thrown by none other than Joshua herself. She steps back, still lost in thought. Bitna and Wara compliment Joshua's throw. "That's the first time I've seen you so serious about dodgeball," Wara comments. Joshua, still fuming, mutters, "I'm just pissed off lately." In truth, she had imagined one of the players as M and couldn't hold back her anger. Bitna notices Joshua's outfit and asks, "Why are you wearing your gym uniform like that?" Joshua gives the same excuse, laughing it off. Bitna, deciding to join in, bends down to fold her pants, but Joshua watches with concern. "Be careful," she warns, but Bitna is too focused on her own task to notice the dodgeball flying straight for her face. The ball hits Bitna hard, sending her crashing to the ground with a scream. Joshua looks up to see who threw the ball. It's the class president, Bora, who quickly apologizes. "I was aiming for your body, but it hit your face instead." Joshua grits her teeth, thinking sarcastically, "She really seems like an immaterial person." Bitna, clutching her face in pain, is helped away by Wara and the instructor. Joshua's thoughts darken as memories flood back. A flashback to the class election shows Joshua running for class president but losing to Bora. The tally on the board confirms it, and Joshua's group is in shock as it becomes clear that Bora won by a landslide. Joshua had very few votes, and some students didn't even vote for her, adding to her humiliation. "That was the first time I truly felt humiliated," Joshua recalls bitterly. Back in the present, Joshua watches as Bitna, holding her injured face, is led away. Her thoughts turn back to Bora. "If only I were her," Joshua thinks, longing for revenge. Gripping the dodgeball tightly, she throws it at Bora, aiming for payback. After the dodgeball game, Joshua seems dazed and disappointed, realizing things didn't turn out as she had hoped. Wara checks on her, concerned. Meanwhile, Joe points at Bitna's bandaged face and asks, "Can you even breathe with all that in your nose?" Bitna, tears in her eyes, retorts, "It hurts. The infirmary told me to keep it in." Sensing the rising tension, Joe gestures for Bitna to quiet down. He shifts his gaze to Joya, noticing how agitated she looks. BNA quickly understands Joe is still fixated on Leor, sensing she appears to know everything. But mere suspicion isn't enough. Joshua decides to narrow down her suspects. She turns to Ahar and asks if they can hang out later, mentioning she has something she wants to discuss privately. Bitna feels left out, complaining, but Joshua insists, adding that she also has something for Yara. Ahar, both excited and worried, accepts the invitation, while Joe feels like she's getting closer to uncovering M's identity. After school, the driver greets Joe, calling her by name and handing over her phone, now repaired. Joshua's excitement bubbles up as she thanks him and eagerly opens her phone. The driver, in a low tone, asks if he can take her home, but Joshua, distracted, tells him to wait as she checks her messages. Suddenly, her excitement fades into dread. Her hands tremble, and her eyes widen in disbelief. A message from him appears, along with an image of her from the gymnasium. The angle of the shot sends chills down her spine. When did they take this picture? She wonders, her heart racing. At the same time, the driver calls out to her, but Joshua seems absorbed in her phone. Before she can process it, another message from M appears. It's a link. What she sees next leaves her speechless. Her mouth drops open, and sweat forms on her brow. It's a video link, something all too familiar. The video of her bullying Hyunwoo had been leaked online. Joshua trembles, unsure if it's from fear or anger, as she watches the video. The driver, unaware of the chaos unfolding, continues asking if she's ready to head home. She finally tells him they can leave, but her mind is elsewhere. The driver obeys, noticing her worried expression. The weight of the situation presses down on her, the possibility of the video spreading, taunting her. Unable to contain it, she screams, surprising nearby students. The scene shifts to the principal's office. She's furious. The man before her bows an apology, on the verge of being fired. Calming herself, she asks about the video. The man explains it had been taken down from the school site but mentions the person who uploaded it used a school computer through an anonymous account. This only enrages the principal further. "I don't care about the details. Just find out who did it," she yells. The man, still unable to provide answers, apologizes again. Frustrated, the principal complains about how the students are giving her trouble right after their college exams. She points at the man, the manager of student affairs, instructing him to ensure the video doesn't leak to the press or parents, as that could cause a scandal. He assures her he'll do his best to find a solution. The man suggests the problem could be settled with an apology letter, but the principal dismisses the idea. How can we suspend Joshua, the mayor's daughter? He then asks about her boyfriend, but the principal explains there's no need to punish him either since both of them are about to graduate and leave for university. The scene shifts to Joe and Joe laughing together somewhere on campus. Though Joe seems distracted, Joe, grinning, tells her he got a message from Student Affairs. They're letting him off with just an apology letter. An easy fix, he jokes. However, Joshua's thoughts are on the video. She wonders if M is trying to establish dominance by making her life difficult. She knows M could easily expose her to the authorities. Joe notices her mood change and asks if she has any idea who posted the video. Joshua admits she doesn't, but she's relieved it was deleted quickly. At least she thought it was, until Joe interrupts, his eyes glued to his phone. He shows her the screen. It's the same video now trending on YouTube. The account name M I Know What You Did. The realization hits her like a truck. M had planned this from the start. Joshua stares at the screen, stunned, while Joe reads aloud the comments. Some recognizing her, some asking questions. Reality sinks in as Joshua begins to panic, her legs giving way. Joe quickly catches her, asking if she's okay. Her mind races with thoughts of her father finding out, the scandal reaching the university, and how this could destroy her future. Joe, though not the brightest, hugs her, trying to calm her down. Don't worry, I'll help you find the culprit, he promises. We'll tear them apart. Joshua looks at him with a mix of admiration and desperation. His words give her a moment of clarity. He reminds her that she's smart and capable, and together, they'll figure this out. With renewed determination, Joshua realizes the key to finding M is whoever uploaded the video. She shares her thoughts with Joe, stating that the person recording the video might be him. Suddenly, it dawns on her that Joe doesn't know about him. She suggests they watch the video again. As they do, Joshua becomes more focused. Her eyes widen as an idea strikes her. She quickly taps her phone, checking something. Joe chuckles, commenting that Heener knows how to take a hit, but Joshua is focused on something else. She asks Joe if he notices the screen shaking in sync with the laughter. Joe listens closely, confirming that the laughter matches the movements on screen. His face darkens as he realizes something. The laughter belongs to the culprit, he growls. Joshua's thoughts spin. Could M really be a girl? The scene shifts to Joshua's luxurious home. Inside, she's just been slapped by her father. His face, red with anger, he scolds her, his voice filled with frustration. Crashing the new sports car I could forgive as excitement, but driving without a license and hitting someone, that's a different story. His voice sharpens, blood vessels visible on his neck. If you're going to do something like this, at least don't leave any evidence. Joshua, tears streaming down her face, quickly apologizes. Her father, still fuming, sits down, shaking his head. People are just waiting for me to make one mistake, Joshua. I spoiled you because you didn't have a mother, but this is unacceptable. He looks away, muttering that more problems are coming soon. The final scene takes place in a hospital waiting room. It's late at night, and Hyun-woo is sitting alone when someone approaches. He looks up in surprise to see Lubor, the class president. She quietly hands him something, where Lior politely asks Hyun-woo if she can sit with him. He agrees, though he's visibly hesitant as she sits unusually close. Lior asks about his father, and Hyun-woo's face clouds with sadness as he explains that his dad is in a coma with no signs of waking up. It's clear Hyun-woo didn't deserve this tragedy. Lior apologizes, but Hyun-woo waves it off, saying there's no need. He's curious and asks why she's at the hospital so late. In response, she hands him a piece of paper and explains that she came to apologize. As Hyun-woo takes the paper and begins to read, Lior explains further. She hadn't realized how severe Joshua's bullying had been and deeply regrets not acting sooner. The paper turns out to be a petition she wrote, calling for the punishment of Joshua and Joe. Lior, visibly emotional, touches her chest and says she's determined to help him put an end to the bullying. Hyun-woo chuckles softly. When you're around, Joshua leaves me alone, he says, thanking her sincerely. The moment between them feels oddly sweet, almost as if a deeper connection is forming. The next day, the scene shifts to a protest outside City Hall. People are outraged over the video that M leaked, demanding accountability. Protesters hold signs calling for Joshua's father, the mayor, to resign. One man shouts that the father of a bully shouldn't be mayor. The crowd grows larger, all gathered in front of the mayor's office. Inside, Joshua's father angrily peers through the window, frustrated by the scene. I just wanted a peaceful morning. Why are there so many protesters? His irritation mounts as Yara's father, standing nearby, informs him that his approval rating is dropping. Talk about bad timing, Joshua's dad mutters, turning to Yara's father with fury in his eyes. Isn't your daughter in the same class as mine? Yara's dad, trying to adjust his glasses, nervously replies, but Joshua's father cuts him off, pointing accusingly. It's all your daughter's fault. She influenced M. Before the argument can escalate, the mayor's secretary enters the room. The mayor snaps, ordering his car to be brought around. Yara's dad, still clueless, asks where they're going. Joshua's dad shoots him a scathing look. What are you? I'm going to handle this myself. The scene shifts to Joshua's school, where the mayor arrives with an entourage and a full film crew in tow. The principal and the head of student affairs wait nervously at the entrance, worried but eager to receive him. The mayor steps out of the car. As he approaches the principal, he thanks her for meeting with him, though it's clear she had no real choice. He introduces himself as the mayor of the city, as if she didn't know, and they shake hands. He signals for the crew to snap pictures of the moment. Not wasting time, Joshua's father immediately turns to his office secretary and asks what's next on the agenda, catching the principal off guard. It turns out the mayor wants to follow a script, which he finds surprisingly difficult to work through. The director of the film crew reassures him that there's no rush and they can begin filming once he's ready. The mayor, inhaling deeply, prepares himself. When the cameras start rolling, he puts on a teary face, bowing dramatically and apologizing for failing as a father. The principal and her colleagues are left speechless, their jaws nearly on the floor as they watch the performance. He continues, pleading for the principal to discipline Joshua in accordance with school rules, despite his position as mayor. The principal, visibly uncomfortable, asks if he's sure about that. Suddenly, the mayor's expression changes, and he calls for the cameras to cut. He scolds the principal, telling her not to make it sound like he's forcing her. The filming restarts, and the mayor demands they shoot the scene again. The principal exchanges a helpless look with her colleague as the show continues. The next scene takes place in the school's auditorium, where the mayor addresses the entire student body. He begins by apologizing to Hyun-woo for the bullying incident, though the murmurs from the students suggest Hyun-woo would rather be anywhere else. Joshua, watching from a distance, is mortified, wondering what her father is doing at her school. Her boyfriend, Joe, comments on how bold the mayor is, asking if he's intentionally escalating the situation. Joshua crosses her arms and sighs, unsure of how to respond, as Joe sips his drink nonchalantly. The mayor continues, announcing the punishments for the bullies. Joshua will serve 30 hours of community service, while Joe, for his acts of violence, will be suspended and transferred to a different class. Joe explodes with anger, yelling, "Why is it always me who gets suspended?" Joshua tries to calm him down, urging him to stay quiet. The mayor then shifts gears, explaining that he is part of the anti-bullying campaign and suggesting a new slogan for the school. Joshua, confused, wondered what her dad was going to say now. Sure enough, he turns to Hyun-woo and, with a dramatic gesture, shouts, "When someone tries to bully you or take your money, just scream, 'Stop! School violence!'" The students stare, stunned by the outburst. At that moment, Joe SW begins recalling memories of her father, noting how dependable he always was, giving her everything she wanted. But now, watching the spectacle her father is creating, she starts questioning everything. Hyun-woo, standing nearby, stares at Jo SW's dad, shocked and bewildered. The mayor, however, is grinning, oblivious to the awkwardness of the situation. Hyun-woo's expression shifts from surprise to confusion, but soon, he can't hold back. He bursts into laughter, and the sudden outburst leaves Jo SW's dad stunned, his mouth agape. The entire auditorium soon joins in, laughing hysterically. Jo SW's dad, believing his plan is working, smiles confidently, until he realizes the laughter isn't with him but at him. The mocking only grows louder as students point at him, their laughter echoing through the room. The mayor's confidence begins to waver as his face contorts into confusion, finally understanding that something has gone horribly wrong. The scene devolves into chaos as the mayor, once dignified, transforms into an unwitting comedian. Enraged, he demands to know what's so funny, his shouts doing little to regain control. Even Jo SW's boyfriend can't suppress his laughter, while Jo SW covers her face in utter humiliation. That evening, a female news reporter discusses the mayor's incident, highlighting how he's trending across social media. Her co-anchor notes how the mayor's remarks only added insult to injury, further victimizing bullying victims. The female reporter agrees, lamenting how poorly the situation was handled. Protests erupt once again, with demonstrators using the mayor's own words against him. One middle-aged woman passionately yells his name while mimicking his hand gestures. From his office window, Jo SW's dad watches the protest unfold, letting out a deep sigh that fills the room with tension. Pouring himself a drink, he ponders the doubling number of protesters. As always, Yuhara's dad appears at the worst time, pointing out the mayor's plummeting approval ratings and how this scandal is dominating online conversations. The mayor snaps, shouting at Yuhara's dad to focus on his job instead of stating the obvious. Gulping down his drink, he reassures himself there's still a way out. With a calmer tone, he murmurs, "There's always a way." His secretary inquires if he's referring to the redevelopment project, watching as the mayor pours another drink. Composed once more, Jo SW's dad believes that if the project succeeds, no one will care about the protests. Back at school, Jo SW walks the hallways, noticing the whispers and stares of her classmates. Annoyed, she senses they're all talking about her father. Suddenly, she's startled by Naku, the red-haired guy with a scar on his cheek. He greets her cheerfully, making her flinch. Mocking her dad's anti-violence slogan, Naku grins as Jo SW grits her teeth. Ignoring her anger, he jokes that her dad might be better off as a comedian. Jo SW, clearly not amused, tells him to move out of her way. Naku grabs her arm, his expression turning serious as he questions why she's being so stubborn. Shocked, Jo SW yells at him, asking if he's lost his mind. Their confrontation attracts the attention of nearby students, who begin whispering. The scene eerily mirrors an earlier confrontation between Hyun-woo and Jo SW. Naku finally lets go, laughing as he walks away, remarking how he's once again seen as the bad guy. Kim Bittner approaches, asking if Jo SW is okay. Brushing it off, Jo SW holds her wrist, visibly shaken. Kim comments that Naku has kept a low profile ever since Jo SW's boyfriend beat him up, and wonders why he's suddenly acting out. Realizing it's because her boyfriend is suspended, Jo SW looks worried. When they reach the classroom, Jo SW hesitates, dreading what might await her inside. Lost in thought, Jo SW recalls the laughter from the viral video. Kim, concerned, asks if she's going in. Jo SW mutters about the laugh, her anger rising. Slamming the door open, her expression mirrors her father's. She storms into the room, recognizing the laughter. It's unmistakably the same as in the video. Furious, she places a hand on someone's shoulder, thinking it's the person she's looking for. The person turns, it's Yuhara. Joe SW doesn't hesitate, cursing her out and calling her a traitor. Yuhara stares back, shocked and confused. Joe SW's mind races as she recalls their years of friendship, from elementary school to now. Despite their differences, she always considered Yuhara a friend. But in this moment, none of that matters. Seething with anger, Joe SW demands Yuhara hand over the phone. Joe SW demands Yuhara's phone, her voice sharp and unrelenting. Confused, Yuhara hesitates, asking why Joe wants it so suddenly. But Joe's menacing glare cuts through Yuhara's confusion as she repeats, "I'm asking for it." Kim Bitna watches nervously as the tension between the two escalates. Reluctantly, Yuhara takes out her phone, still unsure why Joe SW is so insistent, and hands it over. Almost nonchalantly, Joe SW asks if the password is still the same. Yuhara nods, a gesture that suggests she has nothing to hide. Joe SW unlocks the phone and starts scrolling through the gallery in the middle of class. Kim Bitna fidgets nervously while watching Joe's invasive search. Suddenly, Joe SW freezes. Her eyes narrow as she finds the leaked video of herself on Yuhara's phone. Her fury is palpable, and Yuhara, sensing the impending explosion, stammers, trying to explain. But Joe SW doesn't listen. She glares at Yuhara, her voice rising as she grabs her by the collar. "Why did you record this? Why did you betray me?" she demands. Yuhara, trembling, looks down, too afraid to respond. Joe mocks her silence, calling her out as though she's caught red-handed. Yuhara looks on the verge of tears. Something clicks in Joe SW's mind, and she quickly checks the gallery again, looking for images of the car accident she was involved in. Could Yuhara be the mysterious him tormenting her? But as Joe swipes through, she finds nothing. No accident footage, no suspicious messages. She realizes Yuhara isn't the culprit. Bitna stepped forward, calming Joshua down. She explained that even though O'Hara had taken the video, it wasn't her who had uploaded it to the website. Still angry with O'Hara, Joshua turned to Bitna, asking her about the real culprit. With a concerned expression, Bitna suggested the possibility that someone else in their group chat could be responsible. This startled O'Hara. Joshua's face changed to confusion when she heard about this group chat. She hadn't heard about any such group before. Turning to O'Hara, Joshua asked her to elaborate, and Bitna sighed, telling O'Hara that it was finally time to reveal everything to Joshua. The group chat was dedicated to hating on Joshua, a petty, childish group that could have been made by kindergartners. But this was a wake-up call for Joshua. It finally dawned on her that all her classmates hated her. Half of the group chat was filled with people trash-talking her, calling her a total B-word. Her head began to spin as the revelations hit her like a truck. Slamming her hand on the desk, Joshua stood up and glared at O'Hara, her gaze burning with anger. O'Hara, confused and unsure of what to do, stood there as Joshua slapped her across the face, sending her crashing to the ground. The sound of the slap echoed throughout the classroom, catching everyone's attention. Joshua was fuming, veins bulging with anger. She raised her hand for another smack, but before she could strike, a hand appeared from nowhere and stopped her. It was Lubora. She asked Joshua to get a grip on her emotions and calm down, reminding her that it had only been a few days since the video had gone viral. But Joshua wasn't about to take the hint. She lashed out at Lubora, telling her to back off and redirecting her anger toward her. Before things could escalate further, the class topper stood up, telling Joshua to tone it down, explaining that the world didn't revolve around her. Finally, someone had said it. Jolting back to her senses, Joshua noticed the entire class staring at her, silently judging her. Frustrated and with her anger nowhere to go, Joshua screamed at the top of her lungs, telling everyone to get away from her before storming out of the classroom. We moved to the outside. In a karaoke building, loud music blared through the speakers, though no one was singing. Sitting on the couch in the room, Joshua sobbed, crying her frustration out like a little child. Her boyfriend entered the room, asking why she was wasting money on renting a karaoke room and not singing. He jokingly asked if 501 meant nothing to her. Seeing someone she could open up to, Joshua told him about her classmates mocking her and her father being distant since the issue started. She asked him if he would feel like singing in her shoes. He asked what the point of coming there was, and Joshua replied that it was the only place where no one would see her cry. His face turned serious as he grabbed her arms, telling her to come with him instead of pretending to be an outcast in the small room. He dragged her through the corridor, promising to take her somewhere she could cry without anyone noticing. It was truly a K-drama moment. He turned to face her, offering a reassuring smile that made her blush. Outside, he gave Joshua his helmet and told her that he was going to speed like crazy, so if she wanted to scream, she could do so without worrying. She expressed concerns about him not wearing a helmet, but he brushed it off, telling her to hold on tight. They zoomed through the streets, weaving through traffic at light speed while Joshua clung to her boyfriend. Later in the day, he dropped Joshua off in front of her house. As she handed him back his helmet, her boyfriend told her to wait until his suspension was over. After that, he would beat up everyone who had hurt her, implying that no matter how many people there were, he would take them all on, one by one. Joshua waved him off as he sped away on his bike. Turning toward her house, Joshua calmed herself, telling herself that it would all be over after graduation, and after that, she didn't want to see anyone from her class again. But the betrayal of Ohara still gnawed at her. She thought about telling her dad to make Ohara's life a living hell, but she quickly dismissed the idea, knowing she wasn't on good terms with her father at the moment. As she opened her phone to check for any messages, the screen lit up and her face turned pale. It was a text from M, asking if she had enjoyed the bike ride. Yushua storms into her room looking visibly upset, and once again messages her to ask how things are going. This only fuels her anger, and she loses her patience, demanding to know why he keeps asking such ridiculous questions. She tells him flatly that she is not okay at all. He replies in a cold, condescending tone, telling her to listen carefully and stop using her deficient brain, insisting she should follow his instructions exactly. Yushua then asks why he is doing all this and whether he's just trying to play the hero. He immediately dismisses the idea, saying he has no interest in being anyone's savior and makes it clear he's only doing it for his own amusement. Frustrated, Yushua asks how long this will continue, but he warns her that he has only one final move left. If she refuses to obey this time, there will be severe consequences. The warning leaves Yushua deeply unsettled, and she nervously asks what he is planning. He then reveals that he has photos of the incident, leaving her completely shocked. He sets a strict deadline for the next day. When the morning comes, the mood in class feels unusually tense. No one greets Yushua except Bitna, and she notices the strange shift in everyone's behavior, which makes her uncomfortable. Taking out her phone, she prepares for M's next task, knowing that if she fails now, things could turn far worse. When the lesson begins, Yushua receives another message from him. The task is the same. She has to tell the teacher that she needs to poop. Yushua asks if she can just say she needs to use the restroom instead, but M refuses and insists she must use the exact humiliating words, "Teacher, I really need to take a dump." Feeling disgusted, Yushua realizes she has no choice. Her body trembles as she forces herself to speak the humiliating words. Tears well up in her eyes as the classroom falls into dead silence. The teacher, visibly awkward, finally gives her permission to leave. Completely mortified, Yushua walks out while her classmates whisper and snicker behind her back. Out in the hallway, shame crashes over her as the echoes of their laughter fill her ears. Wiping away her tears, she heads toward the restroom and checks her phone, only to find another message from M. He boasts about how much fun he's having and tells her that, as a reward, he won't bother her for a week. For the first time, Yushua feels a fragile sense of relief. On the first day, without his constant messages, Yushua listens to music to calm herself. By the second day, her mood begins to improve, and she meets Gio to confide in him about her school problems. Gio tries to cheer her up by giving her a special fried chicken album, her favorite. Before parting ways, Gio apologizes that he can't walk her home because he has something important to take care of. After Yushua leaves, however, Gio secretly makes a phone call to a group of gangsters, instructing them to track someone down. Later that night, Hara comes out of a store carrying groceries when the gangsters surround her. They snatch her phone and quietly order her to follow them. Taking her to a secluded spot, they explain that Gio sent them. They demand she unlock her phone so they can access the group chat. Terrified and with no other option, Hara obeys, unlocking it and handing it over. The men carefully sift through the chat and write down the numbers of all the classmates involved. Once finished, they immediately forward the list to Gio. The following day, Gio sits at the park beside Yushua, reviewing the message and the list. Yushua, noticing his distraction, irritably asks why he's glued to his phone instead of paying attention to her. Gio quickly hides it, pulls her into his arms, and assures her that she's the most important person in his life, promising he would do anything for her. Later, he heads into a crowded district of the city where he tracks down Jung, the class hopper, who lives in a shabby neighborhood with his younger sister. Gio confronts him, mocking Jung for living in such poverty despite being a top student. Angered, Jung demands that Gio leave immediately. Unbothered, Gio smirks and tells him to watch his attitude. He raises his fist as if to punch, but Jung's younger sister quickly intervenes. She bursts into tears, hitting Gio in desperation as she tries to protect her brother from the threat. Jung tries to calm his sister, but Gio immediately accuses him of pretending to be a good person while secretly being part of the group chat that tormented Yushua. He demands Jung's phone, insisting he wants to uncover who uploaded the humiliating video to YouTube. When Jung refuses, Gio threatens to beat him up right in front of his younger sister. He reminds Jung that everyone already suspects him anyway, since it's no secret that he dislikes Yushua. Jung desperately denies the accusation, but Gio suddenly punches him hard, knocking him to the ground. He then begins beating Jung brutally as his sister sobs and pleads for him to stop. Eventually, Gio forces Jung to unlock his phone. In an icy tone, he declares that he would do anything for Yushua, then starts digging through the phone for evidence. Meanwhile, it is the 4th day of M's promised week of silence, and so far he has kept his word. With no messages from him, Yushua feels more relieved than she has in a long time. At that moment, Gio contacts her, claiming he's close to finding out who posted the video online. Yushua sees this as her chance to finally catch M. Since he hasn't given her any tasks lately, she feels more confident that Gio might be able to reveal the truth. At the same time, she begins wondering if the man she struck with her car really was Joe's father. On the other side, Gio finds nothing suspicious after carefully combing through Jung's phone. Jung insists once again that he wasn't involved and doesn't even use social media often. When Gio presses him, Jung explains that someone added him to the chat without permission, and he admits his mistake was simply not leaving sooner. He also points out that the group chat only existed in the first place because of Yushua's own misstep. Angered, Gio raises his hand to strike him again, but Jung's younger sister bursts into tears and begs for mercy. Finally, Gio returns the phone and storms off. Once Gio leaves, Jung comforts his sister and then receives a phone call. During the conversation, Jung reassures the person that he deleted all his accounts as they had planned and hasn't been caught yet. He warns the caller to be cautious because Gio might become a problem for them. After ending the call, Jung quietly tells his sister that people who do evil always face consequences in the end. Later, Yushua decides to bring Bitna with her to the hospital. She explains that they're going to visit Joe's father, and she didn't want to go alone. Bringing Gio himself would have felt too awkward. On the way, Bitna comments that Yushua has changed noticeably since the group chat incident, and suggests it seems like someone is deliberately targeting her. Yushua quickly denies it, saying she's only visiting Joe's father as a classmate. Still, she's surprised by how perceptive Bitna is. Bitna then suggests asking Hara along, but Yushua refuses, insisting she still hasn't forgiven her. At the hospital, they meet Kenu. Yushua hands him a small gift and asks about his father's condition. Kenu leads them to the ICU, where his father lies unconscious, and admits that neither he nor the doctors know when the man will wake up. The sight freezes Yushua in horror. The man in the bed is the very same person she struck with her car. Terrified, she quietly slips out of the room, trying not to draw attention. Her mind spins out of control, panic flooding her thoughts. She convinces herself that if Joe's father never wakes up, the accident may as well have never happened. Overwhelmed, she trembles with fear. As she fumbles for her phone, a new message pops up. M sneers, "How kind of you to visit the hospital." Yushua's heart nearly stops. She looks around nervously, convinced she's being watched. Shaking, she messages M and begs him to stop blackmailing her. After a long pause, he finally replies, "Until you are afraid of your own secrets." The words pierce through her, and the entire accident scene flashes vividly in her mind, leaving her shaken and desperate. She offers him money, promising to pay whatever amount he wants, but M coldly rejects her plea without hesitation. Yushua finally asks M what he truly wants from her. He coldly tells her that if she honestly wishes to escape, she should simply surrender herself. This confirms her worst fear, that M has no intention of ever letting her go. Desperate, Yushua pleads that her life and reputation are all she has left, and she can't simply throw them away. M responds that if she refuses to give up, then she must complete every mission he assigns. He adds that if she succeeds in finishing a special mission, she will be granted 1 month of freedom. Hearing this, Yushua clings to a faint hope, thinking a month might be long enough for Gio to finally uncover who M really is. With determination, she resolves to carry out whatever mission comes her way. However, the second task turns out to be far worse than she imagined. M orders her to break up with Gio. The demand leaves her shaken, because Gio was more than just her boyfriend. He was her protector. Yushua had grown up under the shelter of her powerful father, never caring much about what others thought of her. That privilege often made her the target of envy, and she frequently attracted unwanted attention. Among the most persistent was Naku, who constantly harassed her. One day, overwhelmed by his pestering, Yushua slapped him. Instead of backing off, Naku tried to retaliate. That was when Gio first intervened. Quiet and calm, Gio was a member of the boxing club, known for his sleepy demeanor and for always sitting silently at the back of class. Despite his laid-back appearance, he was incredibly strong. When Naku tried to strike back, Gio knocked him out cold with a single punch. From then on, no one dared confront him. Yushua, filled with admiration but also guilt, later approached him to apologize, because his fight with Naku had gotten him expelled from the boxing club. To make it up to him, she impulsively asked him to be her boyfriend. Their relationship began that way. Gio, already popular as a rising boxer and one of the toughest guys at school, became Yushua's source of strength. For the first time, she had someone besides her father she could rely on. But now, M's mission was threatening to destroy all of it, forcing her to break off the one bond that gave her comfort. While Yushua is lost in troubled thoughts, Bitna suddenly appears behind her and asks if something is wrong. Startled, Yushua quickly locks her phone, afraid Bitna might have glimpsed her secret messages with M. Bitna gently mentions that Kenu was devastated after seeing his father in the hospital and that the whole situation has been weighing heavily on him. Still uneasy, Yushua replies that she wants to go home and doesn't want to meet Kenu just yet. Meanwhile, Gio meets President Lee at a restaurant. She confronts him directly, asking why he has been threatening members of the group chat, and orders him to stop immediately. Lee remarks that Gio has changed ever since he became involved with Yushua, saying he was never like this before. Gio remains silent. Then Lee hands him a petition, explaining that most of their classmates have signed it to punish Yushua for what happened to Kenu. She says the petition is meant to serve as a warning to others as well. Enraged, Gio demands to know why she is showing it to him, but Lee calmly replies that he should take it either as a warning or a favor, because this time the issue won't end with a simple suspension. Furious, Gio assumes Jung must have revealed everything to her. Ignoring his anger, Lee leaves. Later that night, Gio goes to see Yushua. She tells him that they can meet at school once his suspension ends, and there's no reason for him to come now. Surprised, Gio asks if she isn't glad to see him. Remembering M's cruel mission, Yushua hesitates. At last, she forces herself to say that they should pretend to break up for a while. She assures him it isn't real, and there's nothing for him to worry about.